No longer worthy. Heavy blows for Harry and Meghan. Indignity at the Queen's funeral. There's a strong sign that Meghan and Harry could suffer a huge indignity at the Queen's funeral as the world watches. So I'm not sure if you know, but James, Viscount Severn, is the 14-year-old son of Prince Edward and his wife Sophie, Countess of Wessex. So he is the Queen's youngest grandchild, and he may be about to become, albeit briefly, the most accidentally famous member of the royal family. So if you're wondering who that is, and what does he look like, and thinking to yourself I couldn't even pick him out of a lineup, then don't worry, because you're in good company. I mean, there's actually a chance that the king wouldn't even recognize him out of context. But anyway, for the second time in just a few months, he might be enjoying a starring guest role in the unending saga surrounding the Suffixes. So a few months ago, back in June for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee service that was held at St. Paul's Cathedral, James got a prime front row seat alongside his parents, who are both working members of the royal family. And his seat was important because it was a lot better than Harry and Meghan's. They were relegated to the second row, right behind the Viscount. And that's why most of the photos that were taken at St. Paul's Cathedral at that event featured James. So, with the Queen probably gonna be laid to rest next week, are we about to see the Sussexes consigned to the humiliating second row status again? Are they gonna be lumped in with the other cousins, literally put in their places? Should James go get himself a good haircut and be prepared for his close-up all over again? Well, judging by what's happened over the last few days, the Sussexes could be in for a very painful experience indeed. There was that whole private jet fiasco which resulted in Harry and William traveling separately to Scotland to be with the Queen during her last few hours. William made it to Balmoral about 90 minutes before everybody learned that she had passed away, and Harry didn't. Buckingham Palace chose to release the tragic news while Harry was still mid-air, nearly 4 hours after William had gotten to Her Majesty's place. Harry got there. He was all by himself and he wasn't looking happy. And then we saw the events of the weekend. Harry and Meghan unexpectedly joined William and Catherine, the new Princess of Wales, for a walkabout outside of Windsor Castle. Watching the four of them together was a pretty remarkable scene, and one in which even a week ago would have been unimaginable. But don't be fooled by the image of equality between the two couples seen arriving together and greeting the crowds together. Someone, somewhere obviously wants the whole world to understand whose called the Windsor outing was and who exactly deserves the credit. I'll give you a hint. It's the same person who one day is going to have his face on the £1 coin. So there were two big stories that hit the UK press on Tuesday morning, and you're never gonna believe it. But they do manage to paint William in the most flattering light possible. They cast him as the benevolent bigger man who lovingly reached out to his troubled younger brother for the good of the monarchy. Such a good man. In the Times, it was written in detail about how it was William's choice to include Harry, as he did not feel right doing it without Harry. According to the report, if there was any time to do the right thing, he thought this was it. And apparently William's motivation was not only how his brother would feel about being excluded, but also that he was upset by the focus on family tensions in the immediate aftermath of his grandmother's death. It's pretty interesting how we are hearing that William wasn't motivated by the optics here, but somehow a lot of the royals' thinking has ended up on the pages of the UK's biggest newspaper. According to the report in the Times, after William decided that he should include Harry, he phoned Harry, who immediately agreed. Supposedly they in fact had spoken in the previous days, and then after the walkabout, William is said to have felt glad that he did it. And what's fascinating about all of this is not what we're hearing, but why we're hearing it. One brother ends up looking magnanimous and mature, and the other is basically left to swallow his pride. For most of their lives, Harry and William were pretty much a two-for-one permanent double act, and then as soon as Kate entered the scene, they were a triple act. But if anyone is still under the assumption that all the title players here are on some kind of equal ground, you're wrong. King Charles on Friday night announced that he was gonna make William and Catherine the Prince and Princess of Wales, which was no less important, even if it was inevitable. And they're one step closer to the throne. And what about Harry? Well, he's basically in the same situation as all royal second sons, going back to when the ink on the Magna Carta was still wet, he basically gets nothing. With his father's accession, he doesn't receive any new title. He doesn't get any big official responsibilities or valuable duchies. And over the last few days, the gap that's between William and Harry's position has only grown bigger, and it's something that these new details about the walkabout and William only drive home further. It seems like the palace wants to remind everybody who exactly is in the gold-braided zoo, and that's a situation that doesn't look good for Meghan and Harry when it comes to the Queen's funeral. So far, the impression coming from the royal family is that they want to stick to protocol. On Tuesday overnight, it was revealed that only working members of the royal family will be allowed to wear a military dress. So that means that both Harry and Prince Andrew are going to be left wearing morning suits. For Prince Philip's funeral, they decided that nobody who took part in the funeral procession would need to wear a military kit, and a lot of people think they did that so that Harry and Andrew wouldn't end up looking out of place. But this time around, the palace intends to follow the rules. So that means that King Charles and his siblings, along with William and the Dukes of Gloucester and Kent, are going to be all done up. They'll be wearing their regimental finest. Meanwhile, Harry and Andrew are going to be left looking pretty conspicuous in their somber black outfits. It's pretty difficult to see how for Harry, who's so proudly served 10 years in the army, this would not be a crushing moment. And then there's also the seating arrangements to worry about, just like with the Jubilee. If the service at St. Paul during the Jubilee gives us any indication that Harry and Meghan may find themselves sidelined once again, but this time, a lot of the world is going to be watching live. So does this mean that Harry and Meghan are about to finally face the consequences of what they did? Will we get to see the whales take their places in the front row, and then Harry and Meghan have to sit in a row filled with cousins? Considering all the fuss that happened in March 2020 when Harry and Meghan were left out of the official procession, unlike William and Catherine, it seems like they are very sensitive when it comes to these sorts of perceived sights. No doubt about it, the Queen is going to go out in style. This funeral is going to be the biggest state event in almost a century, and so it's going to really be heavy on protocol. Meghan and Harry, having decided that they didn't want to stick with royal life, might be about to, as with the Jubilee, finally reap everything they have sown. They willingly made the decision to downgrade their status from frontline members of the family to simply belonging to the vast pool of Windsors. And when they finally have to deal with the consequences of that decision, it could be difficult for them. And you, what do you think about Meghan and Harry? Please tell me what you think below in the comments section. If you think my video is helpful, please remember to like and share video. And don't forget to follow page now. Thank you.